The upscale midtown restaurant glowed under amber lights as power brokers filled its tables, except one, where Malik Carter sat straighter than he ever did at the office. In a sharp charcoal suit, his calm silhouette contrasted the man everyone assumed him to be, the night shift maintenance worker who slipped in and out of rooms unseen. From across the room, CO Alexandra Hayes froze mid-step. She had spent 2 years passing him without a glance, yet here he was, confident, composed, speaking in a tone she had never heard. "Andrea, if I sign this, George can't bury it anymore," Malik said quietly, sliding a folder toward the woman beside him. Alexandra's pulse kicked. "George. Her CFO." Andrea leaned in, voice firm. "Once this goes public, he answers for every lie. No more hiding behind titles." The air shifted. Alexandra suddenly realized the man she'd ignored might be holding the power to shatter her entire leadership, and he didn't even look her way. For the first time, she felt the ground tilt beneath her. What unfolds next will rewrite everything they thought they knew. If this opening gripped you, like the video and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales for more powerful stories. The moment Alexandra stepped out of the restaurant, the night air felt sharper than it should have. The city glowed behind her, but her mind stayed fixed on the man she had never once seen as more than a name buried in a payroll sheet. Malik had spoken with a confidence that felt foreign to the version of him she carried in her assumptions. And the word George in his conversation with Andrea echoed in her head like a siren she couldn't silence. Inside the car, she gripped the steering wheel without starting the engine. Her reflection in the windshield looked composed, but something beneath the surface rattled. An unfamiliar feeling that wasn't just jealousy. It was the sudden realization that she might have built her career on half-truths filtered through the very people she trusted most. Meanwhile, Malik walked out of the restaurant with Andrea, the soft buzz of traffic wrapping around them. He carried himself with a steadiness he hadn't shown in years, yet attention followed him like a shadow. "You know he'll come after you harder now," Andrea warned, her voice low but certain. "He already has," Malik answered. "I'm just done letting men like him decide who gets to be seen." For Malik, this wasn't just about the stolen credit or the quiet disrespect that had trailed him through every hallway. It was about Amara, giving her a world where she didn't have to see her father bent under the weight of someone else's power. The next morning, the office hummed with its usual controlled rhythm, but Alexandra heard it differently. Every pair of heels clicking across the floor suddenly reminded her of the people who kept the building alive without ever being thanked. She watched employees greet each other, watched security wave people through, watched lights flicker on exactly as they did every day. And she thought of Malik, how she had never questioned why nothing in this company ever failed. By noon, she called an emergency check-in with her executive team. George entered first, wearing the usual polished confidence of a man who believed he was untouchable. Vanessa followed with her phone already in hand, scanning for angles she might need to spin. Alexandra studied them in a way she hadn't before. "Any issues in operations?" she asked. George smiled. "Only the usual incompetence downstairs. But nothing we can't manage." "Downstairs." He said it so easily, like the people who kept the building running were the dirt beneath his shoes. Only Henry noticed the shift in Alexandra's posture. That same afternoon, an alert flashed across the operations dashboard. Something small at first, an inventory glitch. Then another. And another. By the time anyone tried to stabilize the system, error windows cascaded like a digital waterfall. Henry rushed into Alexandra's office. "This isn't random. Someone planted this." Alexandra felt the room tilt slightly. Malik's words from the restaurant resurfaced. "If I sign this, George can't bury it anymore." She stood abruptly. "Check who accessed the restricted files." Minutes later, Henry returned, breath unsteady. "It's George." He opened confidential logs 2 hours before the first error. A silence settled over the room. Not the calm kind, the suffocating kind that comes before a storm breaks. Elsewhere, Malik sat at his kitchen table with Amara perched beside him, coloring with the intensity of a child trying not to worry. Andrea spread documents across the table, financial trails, code logs, altered timestamps. Everything George had tried to hide lay visible under Malik's steady hands. "Are you sure about this?" Andrea asked. "I'm sure," Malik replied. "If I stay silent, men like George keep winning." When Alexandra finally appeared at Malik's building, she didn't arrive as a CEO. She arrived as a woman whose world had shifted violently in 24 hours. She climbed the worn stairs, feeling each step demand a humility she wasn't used to giving. Malik opened the door, and the exhaustion in his eyes said everything. "I need your help," Alexandra said simply. Andrea stepped forward. "This is bigger than you think." Malik didn't move aside. "Why now?" Alexandra swallowed her pride. "Because I finally saw the truth, and I should have seen it sooner." It wasn't forgiveness she searched for. It was permission to fix what she had allowed to break. After a long pause, Malik stepped aside. "Then let's fix it right." The next 48 hours unfolded like controlled chaos. Malik worked through code with unparalleled precision, tracing every hidden backdoor George had left. Andrea dissected financial trails that led to offshore accounts. Henry gathered internal evidence of altered reports. Alexandra watched them work, realizing the 3 people she'd underestimated were the very ones who could save her company. And she hated that she had needed a crisis to understand that. When the board meeting arrived, tension clung to the room like static. George entered with feigned concern, shaking hands, pretending to be the hero arriving to clean up everyone else's mess. "What is he doing here?" George demanded when he saw Malik at the table. Alexandra's voice cut across the room. "He's here because his work built the systems you tried to destroy." George's smirk faltered. Andrea began laying out evidence piece by piece, each document a knife twisting deeper into George's carefully constructed facade. She showed the shell companies, the siphoned funds, the altered authorship logs. Malik detailed every sabotage point with calm precision. Alexandra watched the board's expressions shift from confusion to disbelief to disgust. Finally Otis spoke, voice icy. "George, do you have anything to say?" George tried to laugh it off. "This is ridiculous. You're taking the word of a maintenance worker over a CFO." The room went still. Alexandra leaned forward. "We're taking the word of the man who saved this company more times than any of us ever bothered to notice." For the first time, Malik lifted his gaze to meet hers, not with gratitude, but with recognition that she finally understood. George tried to bolt from the room, but security blocked the exit. His downfall was not loud, not dramatic, just a man stripped of the power he stole, escorted past the very people he once dismissed as unimportant. And for the first time, the employees he passed didn't look away. In the weeks that followed, Alexandra rebuilt more than systems. She rebuilt trust. Malik's authorship was restored publicly. His innovations were credited to him in full. His new role was established under Henry, offering stability and respect he had earned long before anyone acknowledged it. Vanessa resigned quietly, unable to survive the fallout of her own complicity. Amara noticed the difference first. She saw her father come home less burdened, more present, more himself. She saw Alexandra visit not as a CEO, but as someone learning how to be human around them. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the city skyline, Malik walked with Alexandra and Amara through a quiet neighborhood street. Amara swung his hand playfully as she skipped ahead. Alexandra spoke softly. "I didn't see you before." "Not truly." Malik nodded. "People only see what they're taught to look for." "But I'm learning," she said, her voice steady. He considered her for a long moment before replying. "Then don't stop." They continued forward together, steady, imperfect, real. Yet far away, in a quiet boardroom sealed for legal review, a final file waited to be revealed. One last thread of evidence tying George to a deeper betrayal, one that would soon erupt publicly and drag him into a scandal even he couldn't escape. And when that truth breaks the surface, the man who tried to crush Malik's life will face a reckoning far sharper than losing his job. Because some consequences arrive slowly, then hit all at once. In the months that followed the fallout, the company slowly found its rhythm again, this time built on honesty rather than fear. Alexandra changed in quieter ways first. She paused before dismissing a concern, listened longer, looked people in the eye. It wasn't redemption she chased, but understanding. Malik noticed the shift not through words, but through the respect shown to the teams who once worked unseen. One evening, after a long day of rebuilding, the three of them walked home together. Alexandra, Malik, and little Amara skipping ahead, her laughter floating through the fading light. The world felt different in that moment. Lighter, steadier, as if truth had finally cleared the air everyone had been breathing for years. Alexandra glanced at Malik, realizing she hadn't just regained a loyal employee. She had gained a reminder of what leadership looked like when stripped of ego, courage, humility, and a willingness to start again. Malik didn't need praise to move forward. He simply needed the space to rise. As they passed a row of windows glowing warm against the dusk, Amara reached back and grabbed both their hands, linking them in a simple gesture that said more than any speech could. And for the first time, Alexandra felt she was walking toward a future she chose for herself. Not one shaped by fear or old rules, but by truth. If this story moved you, please like, share, and help Canada's Heartfelt Tales grow by subscribing for more powerful journeys like this one.